If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button to keep up to date with all my latest videos.
Well, hi guys, welcome to Life with Gaz. I'm fishing down here on the Gynn wall. Now it is an easterly wind, it's flat calm, there's no wave action at all, so I've got an open tactic, which is to stick some small hooks out there on a 3-hook flapper rig. I've got frozen worm and I'm just going to see what they can pick up. Also, I'm going to try my luck by using mackerel and squid wraps, and if there's any dogfish, rays or anything like that around, maybe I'll get lucky and hook into one. So fingers crossed, we're going to see some fish tonight.
Tonight the first rig which I've got on is the 3-hook flapper rig. Now I've got 2 hooks on each one and I'm going to fish worm on each one of these hooks. Over on the other rod, I've got an up and over rig, and although I started with worm on the very first cast because the water was quite shallow, this rig ended up having mackerel and squid wraps on most of the night. And not long after setting up, someone drove past and they had a load of worm and decided to give me a little handful of them, which is very nice of them, but they didn't want to feature on camera, that's completely fine. So this really turned into a fresh reef v frozen worm, and I was fishing the fresh worm only on the flapper rig on the bottom hook, followed by 2 frozen worm higher up on the top 2 hooks, and we'll see how we get on with that. And also I'll stick a little video right on the end of this on one of the little cards which shows you how I freeze the worm because I blanch them. Throughout the session tonight the bites were fairly plentiful. Unfortunately they didn't all turn into fish, but then again when there's a lot of little fish about, that is quite common for this to happen, especially when you're fishing with those slightly larger hooks. But that being the case, it is always a good idea to let bites develop. Even though this bite looked fairly strong to start with, it was a little bit sporadic, so I just waited a little while longer just to make sure that fish had a very good hold of the hook before I struck into him. You can see the fish just breaking the surface at the end of my light there, and this turned out to be the first whiting of the night. Now when you come up over the wall, you'll see that this fish ignored the fresh worm and actually took the frozen. Sometimes you can do your best when you're trying to allow a bite to develop, and even though that bite looks good and strong, even when you strike into it, the fish has already let go. There are also a lot of bites in this video where there's just a single rattle, and I go to put my hand on the rod and then the fish stops kicking, so I leave the rod just there. It has got 3 baits on it, and it gives it a great chance of re-finding another fish if it's just left in the same spot. After I struck in and missed that fish, I rebaited, cast back out, and whilst doing this, the other rod gave a nice big knock. So I decided to strike into that one. I felt the weight of the fish instantly, and I knew it wasn't what I was looking for really, because fishing with mackerel and squid, and also being on a 4/0 hook, I was expecting maybe dogfish or something like that to turn up tonight, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But I did end up with my second whiting of the night. And as this fish wasn't caught on a worm, I won't add him to the scoreboard. Coming in here is my third fish of the night, and the second one caught on worm, so the second one going on that scoreboard. And again, this was another whiting, which again had taken the frozen worm and completely missed the fresh one. And here coming in after that bite is the fourth fish of the session and the third one caught on worm. And you never guess what, this one also took a frozen worm as well. Well, look at that, the fresh worm didn't get touched and the frozen worm managed to pick up every fish I caught on worm that night. Now, this being said, the worm which I use are blanched. I did do a video on this, I'll leave a little link to this in the end. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and remember every tie's different, sometimes fresh I like fish frozen as well. Now I just got to fillet these fish and then go to bed for the night.
Well, that brings us to the end of another great night's fishing. Who would have thought that a frozen worm would have beat the fresh so significantly tonight? It doesn't always happen, but it did tonight. But if you like this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button down here. Check out my latest fishing video just there and my playlist up top.